Welcome everyone to this special edition of our NLP Insider live show. Johnson Labs has just announced the release of the open source Spark NLP 4.0 library, which is the biggest release of the year for the most widely used NLP library in the enterprise. Today, I'm excited to chat with Maziyar Panahi, team lead at Johnson Labs, who leads the development of the open source library and greatly contributed to this enhanced version that was just released. He'll tell us more about the new features and what you can expect from them. So, Maziyar, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, David. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Can you please briefly introduce yourself to our audience?
Of course. My name is Maziyar Panahi. I'm a big data project manager. I work at French National Center for Scientific Research. I'm currently employed at the Institute of Complex Systems. It's a multidisciplinary development of research on complex systems. It's a scientific hub, provides researchers with a dynamic research environment, and we develop and create innovative tools on big data and high performance computing. So that's what I do on a day-to-day. I think I'm in charge of maintaining and scaling our on-site infrastructure, development and deployment of publicly available applications, providing services by using big data frameworks to our PhD, postdocs, and other residents, and scientific partners that we have.
So how did this work and research lead you to NLP?
Oh, well, so on a daily basis, I think we use a lot of data, and most of them are you have textual. So it's about so we are hosted in a social science institute, and from day one, I think the purpose when I joined in 2014, the purpose was to have a platform that could be scalable and performant, so we can offer it to scientists and researchers who are working in these domains to remove the technological barriers that even in enterprise, you are facing it. And I did. I developed a platform, and it's pretty much like a database, but it's a very small version of it. You have a multi-user, multi-tenant, Apache Zeppelin on top of a Cloudera, on top of OpenStack. You have like 1,000 cores, 200 terabytes of HDFS. So we're digesting around 160 to 180 million records per day. You have all kinds of stats coming from Wikipedia. You have Twitter coming from all the projects. We are specialized in textual and network analysis. So as you can see, the NLP part of it, doing something with the text to understand what's going on in that scale was really a big deal for me. And it was also actually a very big barrier because I couldn't scale anything on a Spark, and I couldn't really scale anything on their own. I tried in LTK, like 6-7 years ago, I tried Spacey, I tried even integrating somehow wrapping Core NLP into a Spark. But unfortunately, you have two different processes running in JVM, so you have everything doubled. And it may not be, it is a big deal because if you even have money, you're spending a lot of money on the public clouds. But it's a private cloud. It's for science. You don't have a machine that you can just click and double it. So the size are very limited. So when it's crashing. You have no choice telling the user, or which in this case is the PhD student working on his or her project, that this is it. You can't do that, right? You have to find another way or make the data smaller, wait longer, and So that's how actually I started using a Spark NLP. Very early adopter of Spark NLP.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes. So for those who don't know it, can you give us a brief introduction to Spark NLP?
Oh, I knew you're gonna ask that. It's really hard. You're so close to close to something, and you're working on it for so long. So please help me if I miss something. So Spark NLP is a state-of-the-art language natural language processing library. Emphasize on the state-of-the-art and the NLP part, because being an NLP library means that you need to be end-to-end solution for all NLP tasks. There are a lot of beautiful open source libraries out there that they're focusing on one or two things. They're great, but you have to stitch them together if you really want to do something at the end. If you're imagining a pipeline, you got to start from some point and end at the end of it. You have a couple of tasks in big pipelines that you have many tasks. So we wanted to have all the features available that you have in traditional NLP or you have in a modern NLP pipeline. So the emphasis on the NLP means that you have to have everything from tokenization, sentence segmentation, a part of a speech lemmatization, all this pre-processing and a dependency parser, all the way to more modern tasks like name entity recognition, and then you have question answering, text classification, token classification, summarization, and so on. So that was the focus. And also focus on the state of the art, because just because you're offering it doesn't mean people are going to use it. It has to be a state of the art. It has to provide something that is being recently published and it holds and is on the top 5 or top 3 at least when it comes to scientific. We are, the library is actually a production grade library, meaning that we make sure it's stable, we make sure that it's scalable, we make sure that it's accurate at the same time. So that's why it's production ready. So something, when you see something in Spark NLP, whether it's a model or it's a feature, you're 100% sure if it's released, it's ready to be used in production. It's that stable and it's that accurate. There's nothing better. There's nothing that could go faster or be a scale better than what we do in Spark NLP. So that was the thing that we do about Spark NLP. I could give some of the things that we do in presentation, like how Spark NLP is the most popular NLP library in the last 4 years, and most used library, one of the most used library in enterprise. In our weekly, monthly downloads on PyPy, we had like a huge scale of growth from 2020. I think it's around 30 to 40 times the number of downloads. And when you look into data science teams using NLP in production, what is the percentage of a Spark NLP? I think it's around 30% or over 30% of the share is 30%. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the enterprise grade, all is great, but we also have a lot of features that are trainable. And at the same time, we trained a lot of models, state-of-the-art, stable models, to make it easier for users to just start with the projects. I think today we have around 6,000 models and pipelines in over 200 languages. It is something very unique. You don't have. I don't want. I like all the NLP libraries, to be honest. It's all open source and all the love goes into it. But I don't think you have a library that is natively scalable. You can use Python, Java, Scala, and R. You have trainable features. You have 6,000 plus models and pipelines. And it at the same time supports over 200 languages. So this is the thing that we are really proud when it comes to Spark NLP, that not only we are end-to-end NLP library, but we also went beyond to be accurate, be scalable, be production ready, and also offering the most accurate and recent research in deep learning. I hope I didn't miss anything.
I don't think so. No, I think this was a very good summary of the main benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, can you tell us a bit about the new features and capabilities of the recent 4.0 release?
Oh yeah, of course. So the 4.0, I think it was a really big release. Every time we do a major release, we push the boundaries on every level, and then the next time it becomes normal. So we just keep on going like that. So this release, not only it has new features, one of the features that we never had before, 1,000 models in 100 different languages. It also comes with breaking the accuracy of the NER in English on CoreNL 2003, and at the same time having massive optimizations on CPU and GPU. So I start with the new features of Spark NLP 4.0. We had question answering, but it was in case of T5 transformer. And you don't have that many models on T5 that is only for question answering, like being trained or fine-tuned on a squad or squad 2, because it's a massive model, right? It's not that easy, and then you only have a small base, and then after that, the 3 billion, a couple of billion parameters, it just gets really hard for people to do that. So that's why we have now question answering dedicated to BERT, which also supports Electra, Distelbert, Roberta, Diberta, Excellent Roberta, and Longformer. So every one of these annotators now can have a model that is being fine-tuned for a span classification. So you have a context, you have a question, and easily you can, if the model already exists, we already imported 1,000 models, and you can also have your own fine-tuned model if you follow the scripts, notebooks that are being provided by libraries like even Hugging Face. So if you do that, you have a couple of choices. But the bottom line is a span classification, and you ask the question. We have multilingual models that it will go into the context, it will extract that answer, and it will show it to you. So it's called like a modern extractive transformer-based question answering. And we have 7 new annotators dedicated to these 7 architectures today. And we never had it before. It's a new feature. It's a new downstream actually task in Spark NLP. At the same time, we had a new annotator for core reference resolution. And we went and we implemented the BERT for core reference resolution. I think it's called BERT span, that it uses BERT. It's a library. They have it's a paper that's been published, which actually is a state of the art. They achieved strong improvements in very famous data set like onto nodes and gap. I think they improved 4% F1 on onto nodes, on 11.5 F1 on gap, which is massive. So now we have that here. You also have notebook. You can train your own, fine-tune your own, import it. But we already imported any available models. And this one is also new downstream task for Spark NLP. We never had core reference resolution or core ref. Not that many NLP libraries, open source. They have core reference. I think the only thing I can remember is maybe in FDK or core NLP. But now you have it in a Spark NLP as well. Mm-hmm. If we get to the accuracy, I think since in a couple of releases before we had the Diberta embeddings being implemented in Spark NLP, now we could have Diberta models to train new downstream tasks. And we tried it on Diberta Large on CoreNL3, and we improved dev F1 by 1%. So before on Spark NLP3, we had 93 for test and 95 for dev. But this year on Spark NLP4, we achieved pretty much the same test. It's 93 point something, and 96 for dev data set, which is pretty impressive because in a Spark NLP, training a model with a different embedding is as simple as just renaming that annotator. That is why it's very interesting to just add another architecture, and all you need to do is just changing a few characters, and then you have a new model based on a new entire architecture, which is transformer. That's one of the features in the Spark NLP is to be very easy and usable, both for training and inference. And the last thing we did was optimizing, making the library faster based on the latest hardware. So we support now Apple Silicon M1 and obviously M2. I think it's the first time you have an official release of something on TensorFlow that goes on not only supporting, macOS on Intel, Linux on Intel, Windows on Intel, but at the same time you have a support for macOS on Apple Silicon M1 and M2 chips. Since we upgraded and migrated to TensorFlow 2.7, we have now one API, which is now called one DNN, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, one DNN. And so we improved the CPU optimization based on one DNN, which is why Intel Xeon and other Intel CPUs also can take advantage. So you go almost 1.97 times faster, so almost twice. And we would leave a link into the release notes. You can see that have a nice visualization showing maybe top 15 very popular architectures in transformer models, the Camembert for French, and then Albert, Distelbert, etc. How just switching one flag will increase the speed of inferencing of these models on the CPU, which is quite a lot because the CPUs are everywhere, and just enabling a flag and going all the way to 1.5 to 1.9%, one times improvement is actually going to benefit the users a lot.
Yep.
And we went back, also refactored a couple of other annotators we had to improve the GPU speed as well. So we have this batch processing of the rows, which we implemented it in a Spark NLP 3 when it came out, and it worked out very good. But now we realize we could do more, and it increases the speed on GPU up to 8 times in Spark NLP 4. So you go from making it 3 times faster if you're using Roberta Large, and if you go with the Roberta base or Roberta Large, you go from 7 point something times to 6 point something times. So we massively improved the speed of the GPU in Spark NLP 4.
Yep.
Wait,
so yeah,
that's it. That's probably it. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I'm not sure if I'm mistaken.
Yeah. Yep. No, I think the speed improvements, as you say, on CPU, on GPU, and having the M1 support, that's huge by itself.
Yeah, I think it's good if you leave a link to the release notes. It's a lot of other small things that, like I said, you are too close to it. You think it's a small, but supporting new runtimes on Databricks, that's not a small for users. I mean, now you could have 3.2, 3.3, Spark 3.3 is available now, runtime, I think 11 on Databricks. These are a big deal. You get your hands on it, you give feedback to Databricks, you get to use them. These are very big for users, but we're focusing on a lot of big stuff. A lot of the small efforts in make go unnoticed. So I think the link would be nice.
Yes, and we will leave a link to the release notes. Yes, in the
thank you.
In the comments here, absolutely. Yes, but I would say definitely, I would say thank you. And here this week at the AI Summit, and we're getting a lot of good feedback also from just the community.
That's very nice.
Yeah, but definitely, it's a far faster release. As you say, it's more accurate on the key tasks that people care about. And there are new, there are like over 1,000 new models, right, and new capabilities on question answering, co-reference resolution.
Definitely, yeah. Very useful. I use question answering myself. They are very fun to use. I mean, there is no purpose on it for me as a research engineer at where I work, but I constantly find myself just copy pasting context and I start asking questions. I don't even know why. It's just fun not to read the whole thing and have the answer. I just do it. It's really fun.
Here's a recommendation to everyone.
Yeah, please. Just for fun. Just for fun.
Exactly.
Starting with a Spark NLP is not that hard, actually. The efforts being done by Databricks, obviously, the Project Zen to refactoring and revamping PySpark for Pythonish people who like things in a certain way, obviously. It helped us a lot during the last year or two. Now I think it's super, super simple. You don't need anything. You just walk into Colab, Kaggle, any environment. It's as simple as saying pip install the Spark NLP PySpark. That's it. I'm not even going to say Spark-NLP. You can go either way. It will install the thing. As simple as that. You don't even need to really care about how you spell a Spark NLP. And then after that, you start. You can install with the simplest way of having one line, one pipeline, getting what you need. And then after that, get involved in constructing your own pipeline, having more features, having more, tuning the parameters in your own way. I think we have beautiful certificates, courses, notebooks, videos. I would highly recommend to register for the certification of the public. Definitely for the public courses, they are perfect. I mean, you spend 2 days, few hours, and then you master the whole, not only the Spark NLP, but you're also mastering the NLP domain. You learn all the tasks, because when you learn about name entity recognition, it's the same thing in other libraries. So you learn 60% of what you need to know as a data scientist when it comes to the domain of NLP, and 40% of it is just mastering the library itself. So I highly recommend signing up for the certificates provided by Johnston Labs.
Yep, I agree. And they're coming up next month.
It's next month? Oh, sorry, I didn't know the date. If you know the date, I think you
it's in the third week of July. I'm sorry, third week of July. Yeah, and the live online trainings.
It's not too late to sign up, no?
No, definitely not. There's
another. So a lot of people coming last time.
Yes, yeah, these are usually, yes, exactly. Usually, these are large trainings. Yes. So, how are how can those interested in using Spark NLP get started?
So, interested in using it, or interested in contributing or getting involved? I think I would say both ways. Like in using it, I think please just check the website nlp.johnstonlabs.com. That's the website that we put everything. We have beautiful documentation, massive amount of examples. I mean, we have so many examples for everything. You just go. It depends on how you learn. Some people learn about, by using documentation and then getting their hands dirty. Some people just want to get their hands dirty. We had many people learning in many ways, contributing to those documentation and repository we have for workshop that hosting all the notebooks. So we covered all aspects of cognitive learning. So if you learn by diving into code, you have all of it. If you're diving into documentation, you have all of the things that you need in the website. I would highly recommend to start with the website. You have one-liners get you through, and then after that, it will take you all the way to very technical, specific stuff that needs to be done in NLP. And if you want to contribute, I think the best thing to start is that start with the issues and pull requests on the GitHub repository we have, github.com/johnstonlabs/spark-nlp. Check the pull requests. Maybe you can review them, check the issues, see if you can help. Maybe it doesn't have to be code. It doesn't have to be that technical. Maybe just saying the same issues from a different perspective as a user that would help to, go along. We highly recommend and welcome the feature requests, because that's the only connection we have with the public, of our own users, of our own community, what they need and what they want. So whenever you get anywhere on LinkedIn, on GitHub, we have a very active Slack channels. I think it's over 3,000 people. And I would say like maybe 5% of them are members of a Spark NLP, for healthcare, finance, legal. Definitely come to the Slack. It feels like a really one-on-one support, no matter who you are. So you get your questions answered, you see other questions, you learn how things are being done. So whenever you are, wherever you are, just send us a feature request. We follow all the latest research papers published, other libraries. We watch everything, and then we go with implementing it. But it would be very nice to see our own community, what they need and what they go for, depending, on who you are and what you do. That could benefit a lot of other people in the community.
Absolutely, I definitely agree with it. So, Maziyar, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure.
And for everyone, I mean, if you're using Spark NLP or experimenting with the new features, please let us know what you think and what we can build for you next and help you with next. Really appreciate your feedback, and we'll use it to keep improving the library, the features, and the community. So thank you, everyone, and until next time.